All right, everybody. In this episode of Coffee with Chad, we're going to get into the NASA asteroid warning. Whoa. All right, everybody. I am Chad Taylor, author of the book, Where Are We? Earth According to the Bible. And today we have in the news, NASA asteroid warning. Giant 118-foot space rock headed on Earth approach tonight. Well, now, this was in the news last night, and so at midnight on whatever GMT time zone is, at 12:07, there was a flyby, apparently. So the asteroid, dubbed by NASA Asteroid 2018 YQ2, is expected to approach our home planet just after midnight. Anyway, so hopefully you guys were very afraid of this, and hopefully that you were in fear and depend on the government for all of your information. And I, of course, am being completely sarcastic because I don't believe any of this nonsense. So, yeah, this every so often, I remember years ago when I was a kid, not even that long ago even, but I remember being like, why is the powers that be so nonchalant about these catastrophic events that can come along and wipe out an entire planet? And we think of the dinosaurs dying and we think of all these kinds of things, but yet everything seems so nonchalant. And everything seems like, well, the odds are blah, 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 blah. Yet, if you watch certain movies, there's just constantly things flying through space and running into this and running into that. And, what was that one movie with, was it Sandra Bullock? Gravity. No, not Gravity. Was it Gravity? I think it was Gravity. Where this thing falls apart, and next thing you know, like in a handful of minutes, it's flying around again, taking this out and taking that out. And so we see of all these things, yet everything seems so nonchalant. And so, the powers that be want you to be in fear and dependent on them. And so, so this is just nonsense to me. This right here, this article of NASA asteroid warning, to me is the equivalent of watch out for flying reindeer. They might be running into your airplane with Santa Claus. That is how realistic this nonsense is. It's absolute nonsense. So this also, I saw this in the news yesterday as well. This mysterious beam of light. So panic over mysterious beam of light. NASA previously spotted pulsing red pillar in the sky. This is from Express. Whatever, I think this is in the UK or something. Anyway, lightsaber-looking beam of light spotted in sky above Canada. Okay, and even if there was something, everything is questionable. Everything we get from the government or that we're told by NASA, to lift up than to deceive, right? If you look up NASA, right, that's what the definition is of NASA. So everything is up for question. We have to question everything. We have to question all of these things. Anything we get from the government, this is all government stuff. If the army or if the whatever, you name it, were to come on and give you all these details, would we question that? Would we go, well, maybe they have some other incentive behind all of this? But with NASA, they are such wonderful pillars of the community, and they wear white robes, and they would never lie to us. Everything is up for question. And so, yeah, sure, there could be this light in the sky for sure. I don't doubt that stuff like this happens, but I do not take NASA's explanation for it. I do not take any government's explanation of things like this. Don't take it for a second. I have zero faith in that. If we had a cheating spouse that is constantly cheating on us, constantly over and over and over cheating on us, and they showed up late one night and were like, oh, I was just out over at Brittany's house, would you believe them? They might be telling you the truth, but would you believe them? You'd be like, yeah, whatever. Okay, whatever. But NASA has been caught lying and deceiving so many times. They are the cheating spouse that you can never trust. We can never, ever trust them. And so everything is up for debate. And so, a while back, I did, one of my episodes was about this Bennu asteroid or whatever that they say that they landed some spacecraft on bajillions of miles away. And didn't I mention it that, they're probably going to find water, they're probably going to find this, or they're going to find that on it, and whatever. Sure enough, this was from a couple weeks ago, ancient water found on asteroid Bennu. Do you really believe that we have the technology to fly? How far away is this? I don't even. I didn't want to get into the idiotic numbers here. Let's see. Okay, I guess I'm going to. Reach Bennu on December 3rd after traveling 1.4 million miles. Do you really think that we have anything that can... first of all, that it's possible to travel 1.4 million miles? Because I don't. Absolutely do not. I think it's ludicrous and asinine and comical. But do you really think that we have the technology we can go beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, bop, 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 and send something, that far and be able to communicate with it, and it can send these images back, and there is no way that it's possible to Photoshop or to make this image? I mean, I guarantee you, I am like a amateur at best with Photoshop. At best. Probably wouldn't even say amateur. I'm like a good beginner at Photoshop. I guarantee you I can make something like this. Guarantee it. And so what do you think governments can do with just unlimited budgets? You think they're capable of making this image and saying, yeah, it's from here or there. And they rub it in our faces too, where a while back there was like 9 different images on NASA, and they're saying, guess which one is not the bottom of a pan. I mean, they're just rubbing it in our faces. It's like the big bully that just holds you down and just rubs your face in a pile of dog crap. I mean, that's what this is. We're getting our face rubbed in piles of dog crap. That's what this is. And so when I see this also, this is so funny. Okay, so I just came back from Montana. While I was in Montana, this came across the news. It was the first color image of Ultima Thule taken at a distance of 85,000 miles at 4:08 Universal Time on January 1st, 2019. So at 4:08 Universal Studios time, January 1st, they got the image of a snowman. Do you see that? And it just rubbed that crap right in our face. That's what we're seeing. And I'm sorry to be a little vulgar, but that's what this is. They think we are so stupid that so January 1st, they find a snowman flying through space. And to me, this brings up the saying that you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool everyone all of the time. And if this is fooling you, if you think there is really a snowman flying through space, you are fooled. You are absolutely being fooled. If you believe this, you are fooled. So, why do they do stuff like this, though? To me, the reason is they have to keep us interested, and they have to keep us dependent on them and their information. And so during times of the year, okay, it's wintertime, January 1st, you know what? There's a snowman. Snowman, well, nobody's going to believe that. Yeah, some people will. Most people will. Let's keep them kind of interested. There's a snowman in space. Sure. Well, Chad, do you have anything else to compare that to? Well, it took me not even 1 minute to find this. Let's see. There's a snowman in space, by the way. Okay. It took me literally 1 minute to find this. So, oh man, are you going to be able to see this? Some users, okay. December 18th, 2015. This is Star Wars style lightsaber spotted in space by NASA. Okay, let me click on this one here. Here we go. This is from independent.co.uk. Okay, let me Star Wars style lightsaber spotted in space by NASA. Chad, why is this interesting? Well, if you look at the date, this is Friday, December 18th, 2015. Okay. Let me pause this here. Why is this date significant? Friday, December 18th. Because it's the same day that Star Wars The Force Awakens was released. Really? Because they got to keep nerds interested. They're piggybacking off of Star Wars to keep people interested in their religion and interested and dependent upon what the priests, the high priests and the white robes tell us. That we are dependent on them. Please tell us. Oh, and we're so interested because this just so coincidentally happens to coincide with our nerdy release of the Star Wars The Force Awakens, which I think was box office, a $2 billion box office movie. You think a lot of people have seen that? You think a lot of people might go, well, that's interesting. Thank you, NASA. You guys are so smart. And I trust you completely, even though you're part of the government. Sure do. It's asinine. It's just, remember, they are the bullies rubbing your face in the pile of warm dog crap. That's what this is. And I don't believe any of it. You shouldn't either. You should question. Don't take my word for it. Don't just say, well, I don't believe this crap because Chad says so. You know, don't do it like that. Question all of this stuff. Question. If all the stuff we got from NASA was real, why are there so many issues with things? Why are there so many mistakes? Why are there people hanging from cables when they're supposed to be in space floating around? If this stuff was real, there would never, ever be mistakes found. And people find mistakes all the time. Go to YouTube, do a very, very, very basic Google search, your YouTube search, and you'll find countless mistakes. There's just innumerable numbers of mistakes that are found with NASA footage. And then if you go to all the other footage of different countries and then go back in time, look at the really old footage. Compare the really old footage to the stuff we get today, like the speed of the so-called planet from this many miles away and comparing things. There's just mistakes after mistakes. Too many to count. And so, yes, all of this is up for question. Just because the religion of science and the high priests that tell us that this, asteroid flew by last night, just because these high priests tell us that does not mean they're unquestionable, because they are man and men lie. So, yes, absolutely. Please question. Just question this stuff. And so popping in here in about 15 minutes or so is going to be our guest of the day, Joe Garcia. He is the host of the Question Everything Conference. You can look at QE2019.com. I've got the website pulled up right here. It is in Yorba Linda, California, February 22nd, 23rd. You can check out all the information here. There's going to be speakers, so I'll be speaking there. I get the invite, and I appreciate that, Joe. And let's see here. There's going to be, can we trust the science being taught today? Is the CIA, Army, Air Force, Navy, NASA, and Russia telling us the truth about the shape of the Earth? Can we trust Big Pharma? Is CBD safe? Are vaccines safe? Is there more to the official 9/11 story? Did we really go to the moon? Can we believe the Bible? Is there actually evidence of faith for the faith of so many? Are we born that way? Tackling the homosexual question. Spiritual warfare. Is there battle for our mind? And is the earth really flat? And so let's see who the speakers are. We have Robbie Davidson, Matt Long, Mark Sargent, Pastor Dean Odell, Nathan Roberts, Christina Hildebrand, Al Morenton, Emily Pittsford, and yours truly, Jared Cressman, Daniel Noel, Paul on the Plain. Paul's a local to over here. He lives near me, somewhat near me. Jeremiah Dirt, and who knows, maybe there'll be more to follow. But just a great lineup of people. I've met most of these people, actually. There's some people I haven't met, but I'm looking forward to being there. So if you go to QE2019.com, check out that, and that's going to be a fantastic conference. So an important thing is to question, just like I was just saying. Please don't take our words for things. Just because somebody is confident, I'm very confident in all this kind of stuff. I'm very confident. This is years of research, countless hours of research that I've done in this, and this is kind of what I've been led to do. So I'm very confident of this. But just because I'm confident, don't just take what I say and say, oh, wow, he sure seems like he knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to take his word for it. Please don't do that. Question yourself. Question, question, question. And in the back of my book, I even mentioned question everything. I leave a note for my kids in the back of the book. In the whatever you want to call it. I forget the name of the section. But I was just, for my kids, I was saying question everything. It was one of the things I said. And this was back in 2016, I think, or so, that I wrote that. That part anyway. And, and then a couple years later, Joe's coming out with this Question Everything conference that I think is so important to question. I was never taught to question growing up, to question why we're taught certain things, to question people's motives behind certain things, to question why things are the way they are, to question everything. I was never taught that. And I think it is so important that all of us question everything. And so, with that, you know what time it is?
Funny dad joke time!
That's right, everybody. It is Funny Jad Doke. Funny Jad Doke? It's Funny Jad Doke time. Funny dad joke time. All right, here we go. A tree house is the biggest insult to a tree. Here, I killed your friend. Hold him. Anyway, that is funny. And that also reminds the subject of excuse me, the subject of logging, of going off in the woods, cutting down a tree, chopping it up, bringing it home on your logging truck and bringing it to a sawmill, and cutting them up and bringing them to a local hardware store where people can use that lumber to build something. Coming from Montana, I'm born and raised in Montana boy, country boy right here, living in the big city. It is, I find people that, they're pretty much just clueless most of the time, that have a serious problem with logging. Okay, tell me something in your house, like if you look around right now, what in your house is not made of something that came after logging? It's almost like having a problem with truckers. Well, what hasn't come by truck? What are things that come to your house that haven't at some point been driven by a truck from here to there? It's silly to me. It is ignorant. It's pretty much stupid and idiotic at that point, because trees are a renewable resource. They grow. You can cut them down and they grow again. Sure, they take a while to grow, but you can plant some after you cut some down, go over here, cut these down, plant some more, go over here, cut some down, plant some more, and before you know it, those ones that you first started with are big enough to cut down again, plant some more. And so, it's silly to me that, we have to get so much lumber from other countries. It's just the same thing with like the oil stuff. We're so dependent on other countries. And oil isn't even a renewable resource. Well, I guess you could kind of get into certain types of things. And then you can get into all the other types of, do we really have to be dependent on gasoline for cars? With technology and if actual real technology were able to be used. How many people have, if you look into this, how many people have made cars that run off water and cars that run off like this and that, and then they mysteriously wind up dead? It happens quite a bit if you look into it. And so we're kind of dependent on gas because there's billions and trillions of dollars involved. And so you think that whoever the powers that be could lose out on billions or trillions of dollars by Joe Blow coming up with something that runs on water. Of course they're going to knock him off, unfortunately. So, but yeah, trees are a renewable resource. This desk right here, this was made from a piece of plywood that came from a mill somewhere. Actually came from a hardware store, Home Depot to be exact. That came from a mill that was delivered by truck. That came from, on a logging truck to that mill. That was a tree growing somewhere. If you look at the house, your house, that was built with lumber that came from a tree that was brought to a sawmill by a truck, by a logging truck that came from the woods somewhere, and they're renewable resources. So I just find people very hypocritical and down with logging, down with logging. I remember the logging industry is huge in Montana, especially where I'm from. Used to be just a booming industry, and then all these tree huggers, literally tree huggers, would come in and just try to ruin people's livelihoods. Yet they go home to a house that's made of wood. They read from books that are made from wood, from paper that comes from trees, and just asinine. Renewable resource. All right. I actually wasn't planning on getting into logging, but it's an interesting subject. You know, we get so much lumber from Canada. Why? Why do we do that? You know, we don't have enough trees here. You know, whatever. I know there's a lot of politics behind all this stuff because there's billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars involved. So let's move on from logging, shall we? So anyway, QE 2019, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to have a drink of coffee now because this is Coffee with Chad after all. So our guest is going to be calling in about 5-6 minutes or so. You know what? If you guys don't know this, I love music. I've been so passionate about music since I was a kid. It's just one of the loves of my life. I love music. I love to make music. I love to listen to music. And years ago, I was early 20s. I'm guessing 21 or so. I started to come up with my own recording studio in my house, just a small home-based recording studio. I went up to my neck in debt to get it, thinking that was the thing to do. It ended up being just a huge money pit, a massive learning experience. Then I turned around and sold everything years later. Never made a dime off any of that. I mean, it was pretty silly. It was just a huge learning experience. Well, at some point, I'd love to do it in the next year. I really want to get back into recording music, and I have no interest in performing. I have zero interest in ever playing in front of people. I've come to realize I love playing guitar, but I don't even like playing guitar in front of my wife or kids or anybody. I don't know what it is. I just don't enjoy performing in front of people. But I like to play music. I like to listen to music, and I like to compose music. And so at some point in the next year, I really would like to come up with my recording setup. I've been working on what all I'm going to need to do it, but to do it smart, to do it where I don't break the bank. The stuff I want to get is certainly not cheap, but I really would like to do certain songs and to make music. And because I have, it's funny. It's funny. So I'll be, because most of my background is hard rock and heavy metal. And I'll just have all these songs, in my head sometimes. But my wife would be like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Why? Because it's like my hand will be shaking like this. But it's because I'm like speed picking or something as we're driving. I'm like, just kind of got this rhythm in my head about different things. But, she sees me do it like this. But no, it's like I don't have problems. I don't have too much coffee. I'm just practicing. Anyway, it's kind of funny. But the funny thing is that, like, I think it's a maturing process, is that I literally sold all my gear. Man, when was that? Going on 10 years ago? 8-9 years ago? Something like that? I sold off all my stuff. And I'll bet you since then, I have only picked up a guitar and played, like, every so often I'll swing by a guitar store and just pick up one of their guitars and play for a little bit. So in the last 8 or 9 years or so, I've played maybe a total of an hour or two, maybe, on a guitar. But it's something that I'm looking forward to. I really feel like it's, like back then, it's something that God put in me as far as the music stuff goes, that it just wasn't my time. That's how I feel about it. And I just went about things in an immature way, and it was silly. I watched too many rock star movies, and just was not the time. But coming up, I think it's just about the time. So I'm also working on my second book, and I have so many projects going on. It's not going as fast as I want it to. I wanted to have the book done before QE 2019, but I can tell you right now, it is very, very unlikely that that's going to happen. I would love to, but I don't want to rush something, and I do have a special set of ways I want the book done, and I don't think it'll be done by then. But I'm looking forward to having it done. Very much so. So, all right. Let's see here. What else is going on while we wait for our guest to call in? You know what? Let's go, because we are live. And so what happened earlier today also is that I tried like 3 or 4 times, and for whatever reason, the broadcasting software I was using was not working for broadcasting live to YouTube and Facebook, because this show broadcasts live to YouTube and Facebook. The audio was uploaded as a podcast. And then I also recently started a second channel called CWC Clips. So Coffee with Chad Clips, which is going to be, I just started it, so I haven't uploaded yet. But it's going to be little segments from the show that are uploaded. And so instead of listening to a whole hour-long program, you can have 5 minutes of this subject or 10 minutes of this or whatever. So CWC Clips. You can check that out. By the time you see this, I might have started posting, but got a lot of editing to do to put stuff on there. Also, please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and comment. You know, if you think there's people you know that would like this message and like to hear these kinds of things, go ahead and hit the share button, share things with them, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. If you're on YouTube, if you're watching this, subscribe, hit the notification bell. All that stuff's appreciated. Just, let us know that this is good. This personally, I put a lot of time and money into doing all this kind of stuff, and just feedback would be great. Sharing the stuff would be great. If you think this is good info, go ahead and share it. If you don't, then don't share it, whatever. But, people like to, I'm not really a words of affirmation kind of person. You know, if you've read the 5 love languages, one of them is words of affirmation. I don't really care really to get a whole lot of pats on the back and stuff, but it is nice. It's nice to hear, activity's nice. And, there's a lot of us that are really going out there, putting our neck out. And if all you got to do is go boop, share, boop, send or whatever, that, it's a nice act. It's a nice act of saying, hey, I do want my friends or family or whoever to see this. And it could be the fact, too, of just saying, hey, what do you guys think of this? Instead of saying, hey, share, here's what I think, you can just say, hey, what do you guys think of this? It's a good way of sharing info without saying you agree with it. Because even if you agree with this kind of stuff, because I don't know if there's many topics that I've talked about on this channel, on this show, that are not controversial. Most topics I talk about on this are very controversial. So I understand the, hesitancy to, just go ahead and hit share. But if you would just say, hey, mom or dad or brother or sister, whoever, what do you guys think of this? It's an easy way of sharing without, putting yourself in an awkward position. So right now we have the host, the person putting on QE 2019. We have Joe Garcia on the line. Joe, can you hear me?
Hey, good morning, Chad. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, Joe. Great to hear from you. And I've already taken over the QE 2019 site, went over all the speakers, and so people are going to be already informed with that. And so just thank you for coming on. And yeah, I would just love to hear more about QE 2019. What are your thoughts? What are you expecting? And that's coming up here in, about a month and a half?
Yep. Well, yeah, thanks, Chad, for having me on, first of all. I appreciate that. QE 2019 is going to be fantastic. There's a lot of new things that are being put into place that's just going to make this thing really different than any of the other conferences that have been put on in the last couple of years, really. We have each speaker's been given a question, so we're going to kind of just move this conference along where every speaker's question is going to just kind of build on the next one to really building towards a climax at the very end. That's just going to be something that people do not want to miss. It's going to be just an amazing event. On Saturday during the lunch break, Jeremiah Dirt, if you guys are familiar with Jeremiah, is going to be performing while we eat our food. And it's really shaping up to be something really cool. I'm excited to be an attendee myself, so it's going to be pretty exciting. So Also on, I don't know if you covered this part of it about the VIP speakers lunch. We're doing a VIP lunch on the first day, which is Friday. Tickets also available for that at QE2019.com. And it's just going to be an opportunity to sit with all the speakers, get some one-on-one time, and hang out with them, get to know them, get some stuff signed, but really just hang out with them, get to ask the questions. You know, we're going to have not only the flat earth people represented there, but Dan Noel from the 9/11, the architects and engineers for 9/11. So I know that is a big topic that's been back in the news again because of the grand jury that's being convened in Manhattan to look at 57 pieces of evidence to see whether this is a criminal act or not, and whether explosives were in fact used to bring down those buildings, which, you know, we all tend to believe that was in fact the case. So there's that. Christina Hildebrand, thinks she's going to be able to be there too. And so any questions you have about vaccines and what you can do as parents, she'll be able to talk with her. Al Morenton of Movida Oils, you'll be able to talk with him about CBD and other alternative solutions to pain and nutrition. So he's one, just that alone, just be able to sit down with a guy like Al Morenton and talk about, you know, the things with health. And this guy's got an amazing story. He's battled with glaucoma for a good part of his life, and that's how Movida Oils became about. So it was a matter of life or death for him. So lots of great stuff going on there. So just excited to get this thing done. We've got a lot of work to do, and really it's just a matter of the attendees getting their tickets in there and booking the hotels. And if they're local to Southern California, there's a lot of options around here for lodging and such. But man, it's going to be great. And the Conference Central is the Embassy Suites in Brea. So whether you stay there or you just want to come and hang out after hours, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of breakout sessions that just kind of happen organically with the speakers and just getting together and running into, you know, somebody in the elevator. You know how that stuff happens, just like at FE 2018. So, but man, I could go on and on about this conference. I'm excited, eager, a lot of work to do. And anybody that's out there that's interested in becoming a volunteer to help, you can email me at info@QE2019.com. You have a little bit of a process to kind of figure out where you might be able to fit in and help out. But yeah, we're looking for some volunteers, as there's going to be quite a few people that will need some help. So we're looking to have people volunteer to help with that as well. So info@QE2019.com.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing all that. And I know all these conferences, you know, just like you're mentioning, they take so much time and effort to put on, and it's always just passionate people like you, like me, we're not like full-time doing this kind of stuff. We're doing this because we feel led, we feel called, and this is something we're passionate about, getting information out and doing our part. And so any extra help from anybody down that area, just like you mentioned, is definitely very much appreciated. I've been to these conferences, and it takes a lot of hands, you know, just to be able to do little parts and pieces here to make sure all these functions run smoothly and run the way they should. And so I certainly appreciate you so much, Joe, for putting this on. And I know, like from experience, like you talk about, you know, the small breakout sessions or meeting with people here, though, or like this the VIP lunch, and just meeting people face to face and asking questions. And that's what I've noticed more and more with these conferences, is getting that one-on-one time with people, or you know, or approximately one-on-one with people, just be able to talk with people. And I was mentioning this in the show just a little bit ago. I don't know if actually you wouldn't have caught it, but you know, just how important it is to question everything. And then I was just saying, don't take my word for it, but just question these things. And all of these subjects you bring up are so important. And I think especially with 9/11, and it's so great that people have kept the pressure on the 9/11 subject, and that this stuff is back in the news, and it's remained in the news, but it's certainly back in the news, hot and heavy now. And just because it is so important to question all the information that we get, and just especially just what we get from the world, are these official stories that we've been told growing up, are they true or not? And it is so important that we question things. And I don't know about you, But I was never brought up to saying, hey, Chad, you need to question the way things are. You need to question what you believe. You need to question what you've been taught, and why you think the way you think and why you do this and blah, blah, blah. I was never taught to question. And I love your approach with this function is that it's about questioning so much that we've just thought we knew.
So, oh, absolutely. I was one of the things that I hang on to is one of the best pieces of advice my dad gave me is, believe half of what you hear, or nothing of what you hear, half of what you see. And I don't know what his intention was for that. I think we were probably watching something, but it was. He's always been he's questioned some things about history. He's not on board about flat Earth, of course, and not about 9/11, those things, but he said that to me a long time ago, and that really stuck with me. And it rings true more so today than any time. It's just because you see something, even on TV or video, doesn't necessarily mean that's, you're just getting a slice of life. You don't know what happened prior. And certainly, with the thing with gossip, which has been raging on, more so the last few months, but we have to be very careful about what we take in, and we have to test it. If you're a person of faith, we need to test these things against the Word of God and have some discernment there. But just because it's on TV, it's television programming for a reason. We've all heard that, but it's so true. We have to guard our minds, and the eyes are the windows, and that let all that stuff in there. But it's in everything. It's in our education. It's in our work life. It's what we watch on TV. All those things play a part in shaping the way that we think and make decisions. And man, it does not hurt us to run it through the filter of who, what, where, when, why, how, and make sure that we're okay with that information and it rings true. But yeah, in the education system, we're taught these are the facts. Take it in, regurgitate, vomit them out on the exam and the quiz, and you get an A.
Yep.
And that's programming. That's not how God intended us to think and operate in this world, and it's dangerous.
Yep. We were brought up not to question, just to be good little, workers basically, and memorize those answers and do as you're told. Don't question the teacher. Yeah. Right. Yep. So. Yeah. Well, Joe, is there anything else you'd like to share?
At this point, QE2019.com is where we got everything on there. Share information with people. I don't know if you shared the discount code to get 25% off the general admission tickets.
Yeah, go ahead and share that.
Yep. Yeah. There's a couple of them, but you could use QE2019 when you go to check out on Eventbrite for the tickets. Plug that in there, and that's good for general admission tickets. Put that in there, QE 2019. You get 25% off your tickets. And, with the economy, the economy's doing pretty good, but hey, it's always nice to save a few bucks. Do that and get your tickets, and we'll see you in February in sunny Southern California.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great to get out of rainy Seattle, head down there. I'm very much looking forward to that part. And I do know this is going to sell out. I know these events, and people tend to wait to the last minute, and then they go, oh, wow, there's only a couple tickets left, or there's no tickets left. Or you wind up having to wait till other people can't make it, and then they can give up their tickets. So it's just get them out. They're going to sell out, and I would just get them as soon as you can. And, if you know you're going to make it, or if you think you're going to make it, and I'm very much looking forward to being there. I certainly appreciate the invite, Joe. And just thank you so much for putting this on. It's all these subjects, they are not easy. They're definitely out of the norm. And so for the average person, they're out of the norm. And so for you to stick your neck out, I greatly appreciate you doing this, putting this on. And I look forward to seeing you here, like a month and a half.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's under 50 days. I know that.
All right, Joe. Well, thanks again. So if anybody would like to volunteer, would like to help out, info at QE2019.com. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay.
And a couple of things, too. We've had a couple of people that some family situations have come up and they're not able to attend. They've already bought tickets. So we're trying to put them in contact with people that have not yet gotten tickets. So if that's you and you're going to come, again, info at QE2019.com. I'll put you in contact with those two people, and they can go ahead and get you their tickets because unfortunately they had some family stuff come up and they're not able to make it. So we'd like to help them out.
Yep.
All right.
Sounds great. All right, Joe. Well, thank you for coming on.
All right.
We'll chat soon.
Thanks for having me, Chad.
All
Talk to you
right,
soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That's Joe Garcia, QE2019.com. I chatted with him, man, it was probably 9 months ago or so. Maybe longer. Maybe a little longer than that. Something like that. About this conference. I get an email from this guy named Joe Garcia talking about wanting to put on a conference. And then I talked to him live shortly after that. And I tell you, it's not very often where you chat with people and you agree with them. Like everything they're saying, you're like, wow, we see eye to eye. Well, chatting with him on the phone, the first time I talked to him, I was like, dude, there's nothing that he has said that I disagree with. It's like his attitude, the humility, but then also just wanted to question these subjects. And it is so important to question. You know, if you're a Christian, you come at things from a biblical aspect. You know, if you were to take out all the places in the Bible that is people defying or questioning authority, you know, not to be rebellious. It's important not to be rebellious and to question just to be rebellious, just to be a turd, basically. That's important to not have that kind of attitude. But if you were to look at all the places where people rebelled and were hesitant and were questioning their authority, they, you know, especially, it seems to me like, biblically speaking, you know, doing things in a respectful manner. So for me, the story of the fiery furnace. So you got three guys that are disobeying the order of the king. They're not going to bow down to this idol that they are under death, under being thrown, the threat of being thrown into a furnace. These dudes were like, no, but if you watch how they did it in a respectful manner. They said, you know, I'm not quoting here, or verbatim, but this is paraphrasing. But it was something like, you know, it was like basically saying, I'm sorry, King, but yeah, we're not gonna do that. Like they weren't. The way it reads is they were not like, you know, F you, blah 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 blah. We're not gonna. They didn't have that attitude behind it, but they were like, I'm sorry, we're not going to. They didn't say I'm sorry, but it was like, no, we're not going to do this. I'm king or whatever. And so, but they were still thrown in the fiery furnace. And that is where they were not burned. They didn't even smell like smoke when they came out. What they were tied up with was burned off, but they were untouched. And their clothes didn't even smell like smoke. And Jesus himself was in there. It said one that looks like the Son of Man was in there. There was a fourth person in there. And then they came out completely unscathed. And so that story, just that, I think there's so much we can take away from that, where it's important to be to the point where, and this takes time, where you are willing to do the right thing, even if it costs you everything. But in a way that has an appropriate attitude behind it, where it is not rebellious being a turd, where it is just doing the right thing with the right attitude. So anyway, there's many stories. That's probably my favorite story. And so, anywho, with that also reminds me of, in Revelation, it talks about, you know, they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, by the word of their testimony, and not loving their lives unto death. And that's, I forget where that's at in Revelation. 11 maybe? I don't remember. It's somewhere in there. But it talks about end time stuff. And so, by the blood of the Lamb, by Jesus, okay, by his blood, who he is, and being our salvation, you know, no man comes to the Father except through me. That's, okay, the blood of the Lamb, his sacrifice, you know, covering our sins. He came here, you know, to destroy the works of the devil. And said, anyway, I'm just running out of time here. So the second part is by the word of your testimony, by being able to share, by being able to talk. Our testimony is so important. Through our testimony and willing to share good and bad and just being open and being able to share things, the devil cannot have a foothold, because a foothold turns into a stronghold. And so by being able to share things and being able to talk about things, then we can't have this stronghold against us. And then the third thing in that part of Revelation was, and not loving your lives unto death. And that means that means not being a coward and being able to, do the right thing, even if it costs you your life, even if it costs you everything. This book, for instance, in my opinion, people have been killed for far less than putting something like this out. This steps on so many toes. This steps on religious toes. This steps on non-religious toes. This steps on so many toes. And so to me, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to share things. I'm willing to talk about these subjects. I'm willing to do what I feel that God is calling me to do and has wanted me to do. If it costs me everything, sign me up. If that's what he wants me to do, I'll do it. I don't want to, experience certain things, but whatever. Who cares? I mean, it's like, it's not like this life goes on forever. I want, to do what he wants me to do. And you have to understand is that down the road, we have eternity to spend with him. And so, there's going to be some bumps in this life, but the next one, is going to be phenomenal. And so anyway, that's just my mindset. It's not in my strength. That's what I think the important thing is. It's not about me and my strength. It's about knowing our complete and utter and total dependence on God, and that that it's not about our strength. Because in our strength, whoopity-doo. Really, I just got over being sick for almost a month. That was not very cool. And in my strength, that's what it's like. It's like pitiful. So it's not about me and my strength, but it is about our willingness. It's like, here I am, send me. And I'll finish. You know what? I'll finish with that. Here I am, send me verse. Let's see. Just to give you an idea. Because I think attitude is so important. Let's see here. Isaiah 6:8. That might be the one I'm thinking of. Let's see. That might be the one I'm thinking of here. Let's see. Then I heard of the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." And I don't want to take this out of context or just kind of, say it's about this or whatever. But I think it's so important to have that attitude of, I'm willing, I'm right here. It's because through him we can get through those kinds of things where with the fiery furnace, for instance, in our strength, what would we do if we were thrown into a furnace on fire? We can't do anything in our own strength, but he can get us through, literally unscathed, without smelling like smoke even. So, anyway, that's my preaching for today. So, anyway, all right. I had a technical issue, and I'm really hoping I can have that fixed so we can go live to YouTube and Facebook next time. This is a live show, but this is, I was not able to broadcast to YouTube and Facebook, but we are 100% live right here. Thank you, Joe, for calling in. Appreciate you. And with that, we'll see you all next time. Friday, 7 a.m.